Bit of a miserable day here in Ireland. It's my second time being sick this month. I mean, the first time was tonsillitis, and now I just have a cold, so maybe this weather is to blame. I started drawing. So, I mean, I'm trying to do some shading and drew this. I mean, it's day one, so I drew some chest stuff. I mean, the proportions are completely not right, but it's a start. Today I want to talk about the importance of being bored. Now, I naturally gravitate to doing something all of the time. Let's say I'm in work. I work as a postman, and I would walk for like 5 hours a day. So in these 5 hours, there were times when I would listen to 3 podcasts, like literally 3 1.5 hour podcasts from start to finish. And there were times when these podcasts just literally turned into noise. There was nothing pleasant about them. It was just noise, and it was a distraction. So I would not learn anything new from these podcasts. I would just listen to them to keep myself entertained, as I suppose an extra dopamine hit, just in addition to what I'm doing in the day. Because obviously the work is quite mundane. You're walking around house to house, the same route, same houses, same faces, doing the same thing. So you want to add a little bit of variety to your day. And I did that by listening to the podcasts. Sometimes they were audiobooks, and I just literally, the past few months, I stopped listening to podcasts. I stopped listening to audiobooks. I stopped trying to get distracted while I was doing work. Like, at most, I would listen to maybe half a podcast a day, which is like maybe 45 minutes. And, you know, I noticed a big difference in just the amount of information that enters my head, the amount of retention of knowledge and wisdom I get from the people that are invited to those podcasts. I mean, think about it. So someone gets invited to a podcast and they literally devoted all of their lives to being good at this one thing, which they are invited to the podcast for. Let's say someone is an artist, and they share their knowledge of being an artist for their whole lives in the podcast. This is the primary subject matter in the podcast. So you should really devote your full attention to listening to that person, maybe even make notes, and actually take in the information. If you're giving your time, then give your time fully. Be fully present. Don't multitask, even if you're doing some autonomous thing. I mean, if you listen to a podcast, which I've tried and made notes on it, there's no comparison. You take in the information way better. And I used to always say, oh, read audiobooks or listen to audiobooks. And, you know, instead of reading books, which is actually wrong. And I can truly admit that I was wrong in that aspect. Reading and listening to audiobooks is 2 different things, and you maybe like retain 10% or maybe max 20% of the information that you listen to, as opposed to reading it, which is like 60%. I mean, I'm taking these numbers out of my ass, but I suppose this is how I see it. I have experience to show for it. And this is not a video about reading or audiobooks or podcasts, but it's kind of sharing what I've learned about being bored and the importance of boredom in our lives. So as I said in the start, I naturally gravitate to doing something all of the time. And boredom for me, as I remember in my early years, like when I was a child, as being an only child, never having any siblings, I dealt with boredom quite well. And see, I used to be creative. I used to always make these structures from like Legos, and you know, as soon as I woke up in the morning, being like 7 years old, 8 years old, the first thing that I would do is take a sheet of paper, fold it up in many, many ways, and then take a pair of scissors and cut the corners, cut like the inside of it with a little knife, And then when you open up the piece of paper, it makes this pattern, this kind of picture. And I was so excited to do that. I probably did this for a month straight, every single day, waking up doing that. And just, that was my way of being creative. I would make different structures. I would draw and make paper airplanes, try and be, really creative about it, fold different angles. And this creativity is not there anymore. And I don't know if this is, a sign of aging, or is this what happens with age with everyone? Or is this basically what happened because we are exposed to so much information as of lately, especially? We have mobile phones, we have, computers right there, and we have so much information, we have access to the whole world, and this is unprecedented. This has never been the case. We are living in an interesting time when there's so much information. And I'd listen to my dad, and my dad would say, when I was your age, I'm 26 now, when I was 26, I used to have so much energy. I could work 2 jobs, I could go out and drink and then hang out with friends and then have 4 hours of sleep and then go back to work. And I'm there thinking, if I did that, I would be fucked. I would be so tired, I would not go to work. I'm not able to do that. And my opinion on this whole matter is because we are exposed to so much information these days, news, social media, and it's just so much going on. Or maybe not even so much going on, but we're being shown so much that our brains can only take so much. They can only hold a certain capacity. And once it goes over this capacity, it's just noise. Like I told you about the podcast, listening to 3 podcasts a day, it just turns into noise and you become numb to it. You literally have no emotions. It doesn't affect you. It's basically noise, pollution. So that's how information works these days. It's so much that it's just noise. It makes no sense. And we are numb to it. When we see the news and we see 150 people get killed in some kind of accident, you just read it and go, eh. It's that's not what being human is supposed to be like. It's supposed to be affecting us. If I'm correct, 30 years ago, if you read something like that in a newspaper, you'd be like, wow, let's pray for these people. But now it's this is the fault of being exposed to so much information. And information like that, and information in general, makes us tired. We get tired from information. Whenever our brains work and consume this information, we consume a lot. If you think about it, we consume a lot. We go on our phones, we spend time scrolling, we spend time watching videos. It's all content, it's all information, it's consuming. And our brain obviously has to work a lot to retain this information. It tries to retain the information. It tries to, memorize these things. But we can only memorize so much. Our brains are not used to this overload of information, to this capacity, to this information flow that's coming into our brains. It's not used to it. So we get tired. We need more sleep because our brains are working so hard. We need more sleep. We need more rest. We're not able to do as much as people back in the day used to be able to do. So here's my here's the point of this video. Be okay with being bored. It's crazy how not okay we are lately with being bored, and me included. Every free time I have, every minute I have, it's I go to the bathroom, I have to have my phone with me, to look at some apps or look at something, come on. It's, you get sick of it eventually. It's every spare moment you get, you have to go on your phone, you have to go on something. You go on YouTube and you watch your video. You watch something about, something you don't even care about. Instead, I found a solution to this problem. You literally, all you have to do is lie down. And I've known this for a long time, but It's just, it's hard to use this whenever you're so distracted with all of this media. And everyone does it, I'm sure. But lie down, close your eyes, and be inactive. Inactivity, like no action equals action. Like you will actually be more productive if you do nothing. If you just lie down, stare at a wall, stare at your ceiling, sit down, do nothing. Don't take your phone, don't go on the computer, don't open your laptop, don't get distracted with more information. What you want to do is be okay with being bored. And this is where creativity comes into play. This is where your mind will start being more creative. It's like, okay, well, we're not doing anything, so your mind will start. Okay, the first thought will be like, oh, where's your phone? Open your phone. Well, where's the computer? Where's the easy access to dopamine? Where's the easy access to all this information that we're used to? But then you let these minds pass, or you let these thoughts pass, and then some creative stuff will come up. People say, be a creator, don't be a consumer. And you can't be both. You can't consume and create. Or you cannot create more than you consume, or vice versa. Well, actually, you can consume a lot more than you can create, but you cannot create while you consume. So, yeah, if you just make sure you're okay with being bored, and practice being bored, and then listen to your inner voice and what it tells you. Whenever it tells you to do something that's actually good for you, then do it. Because your mind will start to get creative. You'll start to get these thoughts and you'll have to act on them. Don't just let them pass. Whenever a good thought comes in, do it. So start being okay with being bored. And that's where all of the action comes from. Otherwise, you'll just keep consuming. You'll keep consuming until, this dopamine addiction gets even worse. And yeah, when I'm speaking to you guys, I'm speaking to myself just the same. It's a reminder to myself as it is a reminder to you guys. You know all of this stuff. You know that all of this dopamine and all information overload is bad for you. You know this stuff. And I know this stuff too. So when I'm speaking to you guys, I'm speaking to myself the same way. It's, words coming out of my mouth consolidates my viewpoints. It consolidates my views on things, my opinions. So, it's good to speak these things out loud, because having them rattle around in your head all the time is sometimes not enough. Sometimes you have to say it. Sometimes you have to journal it. You have a journal. You have to write things down, and then it consolidates things. You actually turn it into reality. I suppose whenever I also say these things into a camera, say these things and publish it, into the media, publish it for people to see, it keeps me accountable. Then I feel like, okay, well, you actually have to stick to your words. You have to be real about this. Like, this is no longer just in your head. You've spoken this, you've written it down, you've published it for people to see. So now you have to kind of keep your word. So maybe try and do the same. If you struggle with something in life and you don't have accountability, or you have troubles with accountability, and you just cannot seem to get out of this rut of always doing the same thing, then maybe make a change. Tell a friend, tell a parent, tell someone that you're trying to change something, and they'll keep you accountable. This kind of stuff really does help. So yeah, start to be okay with being bored, because otherwise you'll just consume the whole world, and it's not good for you. We all know that. Anyways, peace, guys.